r/NoSleep. Posted by u/horror, junkie123. I'm a barista at a coffee shop for the dead. Verrier Came Back. Final part. I don't know how I'm going to get through this post. It's been a couple days and I'm still really shaken up. Honestly, after everything that's happened, I'm not okay. Yes, Verrier came back, but there's so much more. Like I said, this happened a couple days ago. Between Steven's revelation and Verrier's visit, there hadn't really been any major incidents. It was too peaceful. Like a storm was brewing. But not any ordinary storm. No, this was a Category 5 hurricane. I think we could all sense that something was off. Tensions still hadn't quite settled from Verrier's previous appearance, and we were all a little on edge. The atmosphere felt strange, and I didn't like it one bit. "Hey Steven," I said, putting the finishing touches on Frank's espresso. "What's up?" "Do things feel..." "Hold on just a second." Frank orders up. Frank reluctantly slithered up to the counter. He pursed his lips as he reached for his drink. "You don't have to yell, you know. I'm right there. Everyone in the shop can hear you loud and clear." "I know. But a chance to scream at work and not get chewed out? I'll take it. And if by everyone you mean Nona, I don't think he really gives a shit." "Whatever. You have a point, I guess," Frank grumbled, turning to walk back to his seat. "You bet I do. Can I get anything else for you?" I regretted saying that the moment the words tumbled from my lips. "Come on, Calla. You know better." Frank immediately spun around, slapped a hand onto the counter, and animatedly bellowed, "Yeah, I'll take your sou." I know, you want my fucking soul. At this point, you can have it. You just couldn't resist a chance to be corny, could you? It's just a joke, Calla. Jeez. Anyway, I said, turning my attention back to Steven. As I was saying, does it feel weird in here to you? I dunno, like the vibes are off somehow. I can't really think of a better way to describe it. Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head. Things have been a bit out of whack ever since Verrier stopped by to pay Ivan a visit. That whole encounter was really fucking weird, right? I don't think I've ever seen Ivan so rattled by anything. Have you? Not at all. It was odd for sure. And keep your voice down. We don't need old hothead listening in on our conversation. But I get what you mean. It's in the air. Like something bad is coming, Steven whispered, glancing anxiously at Ivan's office. Right. Sorry, I should have been more careful. I barely finished my sentence when Ivan's door burst open. Damn it. The dude is like Bloody Mary sometimes. Say his name 3 times, spin in a circle, and there he is, whether you want him to be or not. Someone has called my name, yes? Ivan said, grinning from ear to ear. Nope. You must be hearing things, big guy, I retorted, returning an awkward smile. This is strange. I could have sworn I heard correctly. No, not at all. I said, Divin. Yeah, that's it. I've been practicing my swan dives lately. Right, Steven? He didn't respond. I switched my gaze to my boss. He was standing rigid as a board, staring at something behind me. A sense of nauseating dread suddenly washed over me. Every hair on my neck stood on end. I slowly turned toward the counter, my heart thumping furiously against my ribcage. Once I realized what, or who, they were staring at, my face went pale. Nona was standing at the counter. His ragged newspaper was tucked neatly under his arm, and that signature brown fedora shielded his face from view. Before I knew what was happening, his rough, gravelly voice assaulted my eardrums. He only uttered 2 words. Hide. Now. My jaw fell open. That couldn't be good. I pointed a shaky finger at myself. Me? Nona nodded. Why? What's coming? I asked, my voice quivering. Nona didn't respond. He just ominously floated back to his seat and returned to gazing at that tattered, yellow newspaper. What the actual fuck, I muttered, eyes glued to the mysterious entity. Calla. Into office, Ivan ordered, a slight tremble in his voice. Steven looked at the giant and nodded. He's right, Calla. I don't know what Nona saw, but his words shouldn't be taken lightly. Whatever's about to happen, will protect you. I pursed my lips. Right. Thank you, Steven. I know I'm in good hands, I said, reluctantly trotting into Ivan's office. Calla, do not open door until is safe, okay? I will give protection, Ivan commanded sternly. Fiery determination was scrawled across his grave countenance. Okay, got it. At that moment, I couldn't have been more grateful. Don't get me wrong, I was terrified as all get out, but to know that I had such an amazing team in my corner was an incredible feeling. I mean, even Frank looked like he was ready to put up a fight. Yeah, they could be assholes, and they weren't always the easiest to deal with, but my people at Aftermath had become like a sort of twisted little family to me. I was yanked back to reality by a tiny ding. The front door. Ivan told me not to come out until it was safe, but I needed to know what was going on. And he never said that I couldn't peek. I cracked open the door and peered into the coffee shop. My heart plummeted to my toes when I soaked in the scene before me. Verrier was standing in front of the counter. He had a smug grin plastered across his face that sent a chill rippling down my spine. Those jet black horns shimmered atop his head, and his aura was downright sinister. I watched in horror as he turned to Nona. Nona stood from his seat. His essence radiated pure, unabated rage. I was terrified. For Verrier, it was like witnessing a full-speed car crash. I wanted to look away, but my morbid curiosity had to know what Nona would do. He took one step forward before Verrier held up a hand, motioning for him to stop. Stani tu, zlientai tu. Nona froze mid-stride. He couldn't move a muscle. Suddenly, I feared for my life. Verrier had found a way to stop the most powerful entity I had ever encountered with one sentence. Things were starting to look bleak. "Release him," Ivan shouted. I could tell that he was trying to stay strong and conceal the fear in his tone, but it seeped through, nonetheless. And Verrier was reveling in it. "What's wrong, Ivan? Need your little bodyguard to protect you? You fucking cunt. I will rip you limb from limb." "Ah, not so fast, big guy. You must have forgotten about our contract. Lay one finger on me and you'll find yourself in the fiery depths quicker than you can snap my neck." Ivan lowered his head in defeat. This couldn't be happening. "Now, have you made your decision?" Verrier said. His slimy smirk was so wide that I thought the corners of his mouth would tear. His soulless eyes shimmered with elation as Ivan hesitantly met his gaze. "I cannot choose such a thing." "I will not," he solemnly muttered. "Well, all right then, I'll choose for you. I'll take the girl," he proclaimed, snapping his head in my direction. My blood turned to ice as his pupils danced over my petrified face. Ivan, what's going on? What is this?" I squeaked, cowering behind the door frame. Ivan took a long, deep breath, then exhaled slowly before making eye contact with me. My bottom lip began to quiver. Tears brimmed at the giant's eyes, threatening to spill down his cheeks at a moment's notice. "Kala, I am sorry. Verrier and I made deal, long time ago. He would never visit again, but I had to trade for person most valuable to me. This was decades ago. I did not have anyone of value to me for years. Until I met you and Steven." The pieces were starting to click into place. Verrier was harassing Ivan because they had a deal. Ivan thought that Nona would ward the demon off indefinitely. But his plan had failed. I didn't know how to feel. Shock, betrayal, hopelessness. All these strange and unfamiliar emotions twisted and turned within me. What could I do? There had to be some way out of this. "All right, girl. Chop, chop. Let's get a move on," Verrier sang, beckoning me to join him. I bowed my head. This was the end. "No. Take me." Steven stepped forward. He wore a grave expression on his face. I couldn't just stand by and watch him do that. I threw open the office door and faced the stoic group. "No. I won't let why." "Kala, don't. You've done nothing wrong. I deserve to be in hell. You of all people should know that." "I'm ready," he said, turning to Verrier. That sly smile had never left his lips. The demon snapped his fingers. "As you wish." Before I could react, a hole erupted in the ground. It swallowed a table and a couple chairs before it stopped expanding. Ivan instinctively leapt back. Steven didn't. My eyes grew wide as dozens upon dozens of gray, mangled hands emerged from the pit, grappling aimlessly at the air. One of them found a purchase on Steven's ankle. It brutally dragged him to the floor with a loud thump. Steven grimaced as the hands clawed relentlessly at his exposed skin, but he fought to hide it. "No. I won't let them take you," I wailed, sprinting over to Steven and grabbing his hand. I pulled with every ounce of strength I had, to little avail. With tears in my eyes, I turned back to Ivan. "Why are you just standing there? Get over here and help me." "I am sorry. I cannot interfere." I was sobbing, my cheeks burning red with frustration. "You have to. Please." "Kala," Steven said. He was quivering as he spoke, but through the pain, I could make out something else behind his dark pupils. Acceptance. You have to let go. I won't. I can't. It doesn't have to be this way. Kala, look at me. I reluctantly met his gaze. He was smiling. Please. I'll be fine. My heart shattered for him. Even when he found himself in the devil's clutches, Stephen was managing to pull it together. For me. I fervently shook my head, tightening my grasp. But despite my efforts, I could feel him slipping. The hands dug their decrepit digits into Stephen, tearing at his clothing. They wouldn't let up. It was too much. His fingers slid from mine. I couldn't hold on. I couldn't save him. No. I shrieked, a heavy, guttural scream escaping from my body. I buried my face in my hands. I couldn't stand to watch. This couldn't be real. Stephen wasn't just a co-worker. He was my best friend. I couldn't lose him. Not like that. Well, I guess we're square now, Ivan, old pal. Nice doing business with, hey. What the? I looked up. A blinding light suddenly filled the room. I shielded my eyes as warm, golden rays flooded the coffee shop. I squinted, struggling to see, and I thought I could make out the vague outline of a humanoid figure. I turned to Stephen. The hands that had taken a hold of him were sizzling and withering away in the presence of those heavenly beams of light. They reluctantly slipped back into the safety of the pit, which was slowly closing. Stephen lay on the edge, out of harm's way. He stared, awestruck at the majestic being before us. My child, it spoke, a soothing yet firm tone drifting to our ears. I could tell that it was a woman. Your time has come. I watched as recognition swept across Stephen's countenance. Mom? Yes. Take my hand. It is time to come home. Stephen stood, tears streaming down his cheeks. He began to make his way toward the intense light. He paused when he reached me. Kala, thank you. For everything. You will always hold a special place in my heart. No, thank you, I said, voice cracking. I'm gonna meet you up there eventually. Save a spot for me, okay? He chuckled and flashed me a warm smile. I will. You have my word. I held my hand over my eyes, grinning as a steady stream of tears flowed down my cheeks. This is what I wanted for him the whole time. Stephen took the woman's hand in his, and they walked off, the light growing fainter as they did. The glow grew dimmer and dimmer, until eventually, it was gone entirely. We all stood in silent reverie. The five of us. Until someone ruined it. Well, that was sweet and all, but if he's gone, that means you're coming with me, Verrier snarled, his eyes lighting up. Yep, it's gonna be years upon years of torment for you. You're not even going to. He never got to finish his self-absorbed rant. A dark mass materialized directly behind him. Nona had been set free. I turned away. I knew that I wasn't supposed to watch what came next. I didn't hear him scream. Just wet gurgling sounds mingled with what I can only assume was the snapping of bones. I squeezed my eyes shut. Whatever was happening was nauseating. It didn't take long for the sounds to stop. Maybe 30 seconds, max. Still, I wasn't taking any chances. I gave it a little bit longer, just to be safe. Kala. You can open eyes. Is okay. Ivan's solemn tone filled me ears, snapping me from my stupor. I did so, surveying the scene before me. A few chairs were knocked over, but nothing too crazy. Verrier was gone without a trace, and Nona looked like he was licking his fingers? I mean, I guess that's what he was doing. Ivan was standing there shamefully, head hung low. His face was red, and I could tell that he'd been crying. Ultimately, though, my gaze landed on Frank. I'd forgotten he was still there. His back was pressed up against the window and he was pale as a ghost, fitting, right? His eyes looked like they were about to pop out of his skull. I'm gonna go. He fast walked to the exit. He took off into a full sprint down the sidewalk the second he was out the door. Typical Frank. I turned to Ivan. Kala, I am sorry. It was so long ago. I did not think Verrier would find a way to get you. Ivan, it's okay. You don't have to apologize. I know you didn't mean for any of this to happen. You probably hadn't genuinely cared for anyone in centuries. I'm glad that you care about me, though, I said, throwing my hands around his tree trunk of a waist. He hesitantly reciprocated, placing a meaty hand on my back. But Stephen. I muttered, pulling away. I'm so happy for him, I really am. But I need some time to grieve. I understand, Kala. Take as much time as you need. Stephen was like son to me. Shop will close temporarily, in remembrance of him. So that's it. That's why I'm so screwed up. The coffee shop will open back up in a few days, but for now, I'm taking my time to process things. I don't know how I'm going to function without Steven there. It's hard to imagine working at Aftermath without him by my side. This will probably be my last post for a while. I'm going to have a lot on my plate. I'm still mourning, and after all, when the shop does open back up, I'm going to have some pretty big shoes to fill.